lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get.
He missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Side Freitas is on the grass on the infield floor. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Round 1 of the Predator Series saw one class run away with it, but today, running anywhere will be difficult with Mosport providing very little room or opportunity to pass. Will it be a closer fight for the win, or will one driver school everyone on how it's done in this unique format? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 2 of the Predator Challenge, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, Mosport has seen multi-class racing, but I suspect this mix of cars will cause a few people to lose a little hair by the end of this thing.
Joe, one of the things I do want to point out as we look at the track map coming up here on the screen is that this 2.5 mile layout that you see here on screen today is pretty much how the place looked when it opened back in '61. It's a rarity nowadays that racetracks aren't altered in some form or fashion to adapt to the demands of modern safety. These drivers can truly picture themselves racing like they did in that very first Canadian Grand Prix today. That said, the majority of these 10 corners are fast sweepers with lots of elevation changes, and that does mean the passing opportunities today in this Predator Challenge will be a premium. But to really show you how terrifying it can be, let's hop on board the GSRC BMW and take around good old Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Alright, we've got Kevin Brown in the GSRC Z4, so let's do a lap around Mosport. The front stretch here is relatively short compared to most pit straights, and right away you dive into a pretty fast downhill right-hander. The main worry is not to let the car drift wide, because the grass to the left can easily send the car spinning into the inside wall. Immediately after that, you're thrown into the scary Turn 2. A super blind crest with only slippery grass between you and a punishingly close barrier makes it critical to get this one right. Next, drift the car to the left of the track for Turn 3. It's an early apex and then the corner opens up on the exit. The normal line will take you over to the right side and you're going to plunge way downhill through Turn 4. Only a slight lift to help keep the car to the left and set you up for Moss Corner. With the track raising back up, you can brake super late and still get the car to turn in, which means passes here are flying on a wing and a prayer. But you've got 2 apexes, and the second one is easily the most important. The sooner you get on the power and the less you clobber the curb, the better, because every inch of traction counts since it leads onto the Andretti Straight. This is basically the long climb back up to the top of the hill we just plunged down. This is where you see most passes set up since it's the longest flat-out portion of the circuit. But as if it weren't hard enough to pass elsewhere, it doesn't end in a heavy braking zone. Instead, we enter the S's, and it's possible to go too wide and defend from the outside. If you can hold on into Turn 9, the left-hander, you'll switch to the inside. Then finally, you'll sling it through Turn 10 and return to the start-finish line where you finished a lap around Mosport. As you can see, Sean wasn't joking about the elevation change around here. Up and down, almost like a roller coaster. Certainly takes you from one place to another and then back around here in Canada. But we have qualifying just about to start here. And Sean, you mentioned that it's difficult to make passes. Where are good places to make a pass within your class, do you think, today?
You know, honestly, Joe, we're going to look to Moss in Turn 8, really. Now, Moss, of course, one of the more technical double apex turns you'll ever get to, but that is going to be a great opportunity. I think it's going to be one of your few opportunities. And of course, up the Andretti Straight and into Turn 8, I think you'll look for an opportunity on the inside, right up there against the curb, as you try to get down on the power off that long straightaway and manage the S's onto the final turn.
Qualifying has just started, so we will cover that as cars start to get laps in out there. Patrick Hingston running in the Mercedes, just getting out for his warm-up lap. Now, if you're not familiar with the Predator format, the way this works is all these classes of cars are actually racing each other to finish ahead on track in an overall position. The way they do that is they give a handicap to the faster classes, as Lionel Callisto demonstrates what you don't want to do, spinning there into Clayton. and try to chase down the class in the lead, which is going to be the GT3s, like we see with Wayne Hutchison in the Mercedes. Now, we have preliminary handicaps that they will be handing out. However, an addendum to that is they may change this right before the grid, depending on if the organizers believe that they need to be tweaked to make sure that this is as close of a race as possible between the classes. So that's why you might see that change very late on. Now, the preliminary ones, the GT3s, of course, being the slowest, will take the grid. There will be a rolling start. The GT1s will be a 3-minute, GT1s and GTEs, I should say. They've put them at both at 3 minutes. Usually they have a slight difference, but they are so close, but they are going to do them at the same time. And then the prototypes will be at 6 minutes. They will be released before they have to chase down the 3 faster classes. And again, that may change. However, if you want to keep track of how the progress of the classes are, and if it looks like they will be able to chase down at least the GT3s, if you look at our description, we have a special Predator Tracker, as we're calling it, a spreadsheet where you can go and check on the progress. All the gaps are given in seconds total, so you have to do a little bit of mental math, but we trust that you're a little bit better than we are at GSRC doing mental math to be able to keep track, and we'll try to update the gaps as they change there on the left side of your tracker if you're checking that out and looking at it. So should help you follow along with us and keep track of where all the classes are. Now, Sean, we keep mentioning it, but I feel like it's going to be the biggest story out here today as we wait for cars to get their laps in out here, and that's that Daytona and Mosport are just so different in nature. And we've never seen a Predator race here before, at least you and I haven't, with a series. What is there to expect? This is such a tight track, so hard to pass. Is this going to be chaos? Is this going to be a bit of a timid race with nobody wanting to take each other out? What are we going to expect today?
Well, you know what, Joe? This is a real road course, okay? Now, I don't want to slap Daytona in the face or anything, but let's face it, this is a real roadie here with lots of elevation changes, lots going on. We did do a race at Road Atlanta, I believe it was, a Predator race, and that presented a lot of challenges for the drivers. I think Mosport's going to play out the same way here. Opposite from Daytona, very few places to deal with the traffic well. Attrition's probably going to be higher, and that could play in the hands of the prototypes if there's less traffic to slow them down. There's a lot of prototypes here today, 12 of them. They've certainly outnumbered the rest of the field at this point. They've got that 6-minute penalty to start with. They're going to have a lot of work to do, but, again, it could just be easy pickings for them if, everybody else is having trouble. We'll see, but, again, I like this track. We've done a lot of races here. I'm really excited to see these 3 different classes of cars to really get at it. We're 4 classes. I keep kind of overlooking the fact that the GT1 and the GTE are actually going to start at the same time in this one.
Throwing me off as well. Well, we've got most of our prototypes having put their lap in. The Daytona prototypes, we should say. Joshua Wolf currently topping things by a whopping half a second over Lionel Callisto. However, that may change. They are doing solo qualifying, which means drivers cannot trip over each other. They each get their own little bit of track out there and can't see any of the other cars that are out there simultaneously. But the downside of that, Sean, they only get 4 laps in these 20 minutes to put one in. And for those that aren't familiar, if you have an off at any point on these laps, you get a 1X, you put more than half of your car into the dirt, that discounts that lap. That puts the pressure on.
It really does, and let's face it, here at Mosport, you can find an off pretty easy if you're really pushing hard. And on a qualifying lap, that's your job. Push as hard as you can, and with that will come an incident. And with only 4 laps to work with, yeah, you've gotta be on point. You're probably running with light fuel. I know you're running with light fuel. At least you are if you want to be up front. And, right now, Joshua Wolf is the man in that DP class. Looks like Jimbo Pfeiffer, after completing his first lap, sits atop the GTE ladder.
And just when you thought it was safe, George Sandman comes and obliterates things once again by another half a second over Wolf. who didn't see that coming, who has watched George Sandman race before? Now, you might be noticing a few drivers, if you're eagle-eyed, are in different classes today. Now, drivers are allowed to switch classes with no penalty because they're all racing each other. So there's no advantage to be gained or lost there. It's all down to your personal preference. Everybody is scored with each other in the championship. So if you see someone who was in the, for example, the GTEs before with Jason Fleischle, he switched over to the GT1s, I believe, this round. And the Aston Martin.
That's where he belongs.
Yes, we've seen him be incredibly powerful in that machine in the Pacific Majors, the series that this was birthed from. So we watch Travis Henderson to put laps in, currently sitting 5th overall. Top of the GT1s right now, Carter Kundinger, just behind Jimbo Pfeiffer. In fact, and as I say that, they get knocked down a couple more positions. I believe that was a DP moving them down. So we see Travis Henderson going off track and finding the barriers. This is a new one since they did not have qualifying in the previous round. They're doing things a little bit differently, trying to tweak and modify the format so that it gives the best race possible. This qualifying should allow the organizers to get a little bit more accurate judgment on whether the handicap times they've presented are as they should be. And if you're curious, the race today will be 70 laps long. So this is not a timed race, even though that it is an endurance race. Roughly about 90 minutes is what you should expect in this series.
Yeah, and you know, that, well, they do that in case they do reserve the right to red flag the race if something strange happens, and they have to do that. We've unfortunately run into problems before where that's had to happen, where they've had to red flag an event. So, you know, don't want to leave anything to chance. Put in some contingencies to make it all work out. But we will go 70 today. And listen, Joe, it doesn't take very long to get around this track. Drivers, fans, commentators, everybody's going to be really busy. Pull your neck brace out. You might need it.
So far, George Sandman has put 3 laps in, but he's not out on track. I suspect that's the end of his qualifying. Wolf has put his 4 in. Second is the highest he's going to go. However, Lionel Kalisto is on 3. I think this is his 4th. He's the closest on the timing sheets that could topple these guys. We're seeing the timing.
He had gotten 3 laps in and he came in the pit. So that's going to register 4 laps for him. So
yeah, that was his 4th time through. With that being a warm-up lap, that means his laps the count are finished. So Lionel Kalisto will not improve from 3rd. Scott McClendon is the next one down. And this does look like an accurate lap. His final one, however. Love that paint scheme. Now, I'm not sure if it's a throwback scheme, but that Pepsi scheme certainly feels like one on that machine.
It is cool looking. I'm trying to remember where I may have seen it, actually, Joe.
Yeah, I am too.
It does look familiar. You're right.
I very much like the Plains drivers' taste in paint schemes, though. So, as Scott McClendon comes through the S's, up through White's corner, this is going to be it. Can he improve from 5th? From a 1:11.995. And it looks like he does not.
Yeah, he slipped a little bit coming out of White's there. I think that might have killed him there, coming across the line.
Other drivers down still waiting to put their laps in. Looks like all of our prototypes have completed their laps. And as I say that, I take that back. Still with 10 minutes left, Trevor Vavrovsky has not put a lap in yet. What can he do?
Maybe Trevor just kind of waiting to see what he had to beat there.
Could be. Now, the track conditions do not change for these guys, so there's no advantage to waiting, except, as you said, to see what you're up against. So Vavrovsky looks like he has just started his first lap. That best lap you see is just a stand-in. That is not a representative of the lap he has put in. Just so you know, highest GT3 is John King. It looks as like pretty much all of those drivers have put their laps in. I do not see any of the Mercedes. So right now our focus needs to stay on Vavrovsky and whether or not he can do anything. The only other drivers out on track are Raymond Dormer, who has finished 4 laps, and Jimbo Pfeiffer, who has finished 3. He has a bit of ways to go, so we can stay with Trevor to see how his first lap sits him here in the biggest class of the field, the Daytona Prototypes. Up into White's corner he goes. Can he be a little bit cleaner than Scott McClendon? Across the line. His first time is going to be good enough for 4th. He actually demotes McClendon and Fletcher.
Yeah, and now Trevor, teammate of Joshua Wolf, there, the Grizzly Motorsports entries, and Trevor, a former oval wheelman, really starting to improve on the road side. The Northwest driver, again, puts it in 4th with his first lap. I think there might be better things to come here. Can he possibly topple the little train, Lionel Callisto, or his own teammate, Joshua Howland-Wolf?
Pfeiffer finishes his lap and does not improve. Best he's going to have is 12th today. Now, Brian Bennett has come out to put laps in, running in the lone 4GT that we have out there. And he has not put any laps in yet, so I believe this is either his warm-up or his first timed lap. Let me check that. It's first time lap, so Roski comes across the line right now for his second lap. Does he improve that from that 1:11.6? No, he does not. Stays in 4th. He's going to get 2 more tries. Now, Sean, do these DPs, do the tires warm up quickly enough, or do they get faster as the time goes on by your 4th lap here?
Well, actually, they will get a little bit. I think, honestly, your optimum lap is probably going to be about 2 or 3. If 4, maybe they start to settle in a little bit too much. The problem is the track is 103 degrees, Joe, and that's going to make grip, a challenge for any of the cars out here. So, but there are a couple of drivers out there. Bennett coming around, taking another lap. I'm seeing that GTE on track. You said that was the only Ford GT. Joe, my question to you, what do we got to do to get some more Ford GTs on track?
I don't know. It's a beautiful car. I mean, you got to love the Ferrari. It's a classic. Yeah. But for the Ford GT, come on. In the meantime, if you want to check our spreadsheet, we have an update. The GT1s will be released at 3 minutes 30 seconds past flag. That is 30 seconds more than the initial handicap that they gave, as Trevor Vavrovsky completes another lap and does not approve. Once again, he's going to have 1 more to go. Bennett, in the meantime, has put himself in 14th. He's coming up the Mario Andretti straight, a 1:14.7 at the moment for that lonely Ford GT. The only other GTE car ahead of him is Jimbo Pfeiffer up in 12th.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if Bennett can find about 0.6 of a second, is he going to get it here? Oh, no, not that time. Not that time.
That is his second lap. 2 more to go for Bennett. So let's switch over to Vavrovsky one last time. The last of our Daytona prototypes. Comes into the S's, screaming into this corner. Oh, that car looks very much on edge to me, just whipping that thing back and forth around White's corner. One last chance for Vavrovsky to go better than 4th. And he's going to stay in 4th. So our top 5 does not change. Bennett still has those 2 more laps to go. I see Jimbo Pfeiffer on 3 laps, and he's out on 1 more, but that is a warm-up. So Jimbo Pfeiffer is not going to improve his position. He's going to stay in 12th, but he will be the highest GTE, which is definitely going to help him.
Well, Brian Bennett actually still out there, Joe. Bennett still on track, still Oh, what? He's only got 2 laps in.
Yeah, this is his third. And still does not improve. Still at that 1:14.7 mark. In fact, he's only 5/100ths ahead of Angelo Ciatola, who's in the Ferrari directly behind him in 15th. So we're going to be very tight between himself and Angelo if qualifying pace is anything to go by. There we see Jimbo in one of the other Ferraris in his traditional Gulf colors. I did find out that the reasoning for Jimbo using those colors, apparently it was a favorite of his father's.
Ah, that's great. Always love a good tribute like that.
Absolutely, and you can see he pulls over, not needing to do any more laps, which leaves us only with Bennett and Vavrovsky, but Vavrovsky's put his 4 laps in, so he's at this point just doing some more practice laps. Bennett's, however, will count last and final lap in his qualifying.
And he's been solid, Joe. Let's watch him here. He's definitely been solid. Last turn.
Will it make or break it? Comes across the line. 1:14.7 was his previous mark, and 1:14.7 will stay his mark. Brian Bennett will start this race in 14th. Yeah. That solidifies our field. We'll come back after the break to give you the full grid and the green flag here for 90 minutes of racing in round 2 of the Predator Challenge.
All the moms think he's cute. He's not. All the dads wish he was their son. Sorry, Pops. Everybody else, they just want to see him blow stuff up. Satisfaction? Guaranteed.
Name's Tux. Agent Tux. And the pleasure, I'm sure, will be all yours.
Agent Tux is the world's most extravagant secret agent, and also its most mini. Become an insider today by subscribing to Agent Tux on YouTube and liking him on Facebook.
Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, and no, you were not seeing things. That was Trevor Vavrovsky trying to do a reverse lap around here just for some fun. They're just having a driver's meeting now that qualifying has finished, but in the meantime, why don't we go through the grid for you? On the pole, it's going to be George Sandman. No surprise there for those who followed the Sandman in the Pacific Majors, especially him being in the Daytona prototype. Josh Wolf, however, looking to threaten him, but he's got half a second to make up, 2/10 to make up, rather, as Josh Wolf not quite on the level of Sandman yet, but it's a long race. Lionel Kalisto will start the inside of row 2. Trevor Vavrovsky will start in 4th. William Fletcher will be 5th, with Scott McClendon starting in 6th. Travis Henderson will be in 7th, Dan Garber in 8th, and Michael Foley Jr. in 9th. Running out the top 10 will be the first of our GT1s, Carter Kundinger. Sean?
All right, and we'll go back to 11th. It's going to be Raymond Dormer. Going to start there. And 11th, Jimbo Pfeiffer. In 12th, Jimbo in the Ferrari, the GTE class. Brandon Limecooler going to be there in 13th. Brian Bennett in that only 4G that we 4GT that we talked about. That's also GTE. Angelo Ciatola, 15th. Mark Hartzog, 16th. Joshua Gardner, 17th. And the prototype of Scott Kukas there in 18th. John King, qualifying effort there for the GT3. Let's see. I'm sorry, John King, 19th. Sheldon Rosenbaum, rounding out the top 20, Joe.
Then we get to the last of the drivers. 21st, Wayne Hutchison. Patrick Hingston going to be starting 22nd. And Jason Fleischle starting 23rd, did not get a lap time in. Now, as we say all that, keep in mind that they are actually going to be starting from the pit lane if you are not from the GT3. So those start positions won't mean a whole lot except for who you need to try and lap. As you can see, our GT3 is the only ones out there lining up. Sean, what's your thoughts on this one? Who's your prediction of a class that's going to come home with the overall victory?
Boy, I've been thinking about this actually since we got started this morning. Actually, I think the prototypes have the numbers here today. I think that's going to be hard for the rest of the field to overcome it. The rest of the field at times may feel like a bit of a pinball. Boy, I'll tell you what, Lionel Callisto got a chance in this thing. The Sandman is here, awful fast in that Corvette prototype. I think that's really where the win's coming from today, Joe.
Interesting call. Sandman does have to stay out of trouble, keep in mind, so we'll watch and see how he deals with the traffic as the race progresses. And again, if you want to follow along with us on the Predator Tracker, the link is in the description. It'll be easy enough to just pull that open, check the gaps, and see how your favorite driver is faring. So as they work their way around on the pace lap, we go green for 70 laps here around Mosport.
Boy, and we're already missing one of the GT3s out here, Joe. I'm only seeing 3. Patrick Hingston, not on track?
I believe you are right. So we've only got John King, Sheldon Rosenbaum, and Wayne Hutchison. Well, that's going to be good news for these guys because that means they get 3 whole minutes, Sean, of the track just to the 3 of them. That's a lot less traffic to deal with, a lot less battling to deal with. Hopefully, they're going to hope that they don't battle each other.
Well, if they're smart, they'll try and work together and make some hay here and do the best they can with this 3 minutes. I say go line astern and,
Absolutely.
Boogie, baby. Let that Blackadder driver show you the way around this track.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Figure out who is the fastest in race pace, let them through, and then have them pave the way. So our roof pace car comes up to the S's, and then they will get the green flag. John King going to lead the way down into turn 1. Through the left-hander, up into White's corner as the pace car peels off. King gets the green flag. And as you said, everybody goes single file immediately down into turn 1.
Yeah, King gets a nice jump, settles the car quick.
Up through one of the dangerous zones here, Sean, Clayton Corner. I expect to see a lot of drivers off through that one.
Clayton Place, Clayton Corner, the Clayton Yard Sale.
Clayton pretty much. Then they plunge down turn 4, which can sometimes be a little scary if you go too wide. These cars are a little bit more downforce, of course, and can get through there a little easier. Through Moss, slowest corner of the track, and then onto the long uphill climb of the Mario Andretti Straight, where sometimes the draft can come into play here. Although I don't expect anything to be done by Rosenbaum to try and make an attempt on King.
Yeah, Hutchinson needs to get busy here. He does not want to lose these guys. He really wants to stay with them.
This is the first lap, as you can see, of 70, but I'm watching the clock on my screen for when we get down to that 3-minute mark, when the first of our GTEs will be released. Angelo Ciatola will be the one to lead the way there. Excuse me, I believe it was Jimbo Pfeiffer actually was the highest of our qualifying GTEs in the Ferrari.
Yeah, no?
My timing and scoring got jumbled up.
Oh, mine's showing Ciatola also. Okay.
No,
it was Jimbo.
You have to resort it by the qualifying. I know iRacing tends to jumble things up on us once the race gets started.
We're commissioning them to get this Predator format worked out, so...
Already down to 1 minute for our GTEs. So only going to see 2 laps alone out on track. What these GT3s are going to hope for, though, Sean, is that they aren't released close to, within or right behind these GT3s.
Yeah, you know what? Doing a little research here, it looks like Ciatola jumped the gun just a bit, actually, Joe.
That's what happened. So he gridded when he should not have.
Yeah, or came out when he shouldn't have. But they've gotten it taken care of. He didn't actually make a lap around.
Well, hopefully that toe doesn't mess with his, with, how the timing and scoring counts as laps. As we see them complete yet another lap. We're on lap 3, coming through Clayton one more time. Getting close to being when they've released the GTEs. And they're just getting the green flag.
Release the hounds.
Jimbo Pfeiffer hits that into that pit limiter line, gets on the power. Bennett follows him. Josh Gardner as well. Now, where is Ciatola? Did he go with him? No, he did not.
No, he did not. No.
I wonder if he does not have his radio on. Drivers do need to be able to hear the stewards to be released.
He's showing to have completed a lap already, so I think he's going to be held until they come back around. But
there we go.
The GT1s are already getting the call here, Joe.
And Ciatola is actually exiting now.
Yeah, I think race control came on and told him he could go.
All right. As our GT3s come around, they're going to be grateful to see that the GT1s have been released well ahead of them, so it'll be a long time before they come back around. However, Jimbo Pfeiffer is not too far behind Wayne Hutchison, who is the last of our GT3s. There we see the lead of our GTEs. Still a relatively bare track, Sean.
Relatively, yes. It's going to get really busy here soon.
Now we've got Angelo Ciatola still scored ahead. I was with you that I'm not sure he was supposed to be released when he came out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're maybe going to try and hold him. Oh, and Josh Gardner, why is he pitting already? They do have scheduled pit stops expected in this race.
Trying to see if there was an incident for Gardner. I don't know. One minute for the prototypes. Just got the call. Joe, it could be possibly forgot to get off qualifying fuel.
It's a mistake we've seen a couple times recently, actually. Drivers forgetting to put that in, including in the Racing for Rick World Cup Challenge, the Lotus 49 cars. Top contender had to come in, take fuel when those cars are not expected to make any pit stops throughout the race. 30 seconds for our prototypes. And then that will be everybody out there on track, all full 22 cars. Josh Gardner is back out on track, by the way, sitting 10th overall. Yeah, and Joe, I gotta be honest with you, that looks like that stop was all about fuel. Oh, disappointment
Yeah,
for Josh.
just over 30 seconds, 32.6 seconds. He was empty. That's full tank.
And prototypes have been released. George Sandman leads the way. Where are they in relation to the cars out on track, though? Is there going to be traffic? Yes, there will be a little bit. Trevor
Kundinger
from Frosky just behind Kundinger. It's exactly what our lead GT1 car does not want. Having to patiently let the DPs through.
Carter just really just comes by at probably the worst time. Gets you know, basically gets to play with all those guys now for however many laps it's going to take around this track. But Carter's got to be really careful here and have an eye over his shoulder.
Oh, and Angelo Ciatola is out in the grass. This is coming out of Quebec. Now, he just looks to have pulled over. I'm not sure if, Sean, this might be related to him being released at a time that he shouldn't be. We're going to look at the replay here. Yeah, there was no incident there that we missed on the replay. He just pulled over and stopped.
And then went to the pit. Wow.
And I'm getting information from race control saying that he's towed, so I do believe this is related. This should put him in the proper position, but maybe a little bit too far back. We'll have to get confirmation later. Oh, and he is disconnected. Angelo's actually done with the race, apparently, so all right. that solves that problem. Battle on screen, Scott McClendon. And a nice little fight here in the DPs. He's with just behind William Fletcher, but also has Travis Anderson close behind Dan Garber as well. Just a train of these prototypes. They might get held up by Kundinger here a little bit. He stays off to the side. This is not a defensive move. He's just trying to stay out of the way. They are not allowed to block the faster class. If they get a run on them, they cannot impede their momentum. As look at this, the move behind the McClendon on the outside of Henderson, who attempts it but can't get the run off of Whites. Closes in up very tight behind Scott. Once again, momentum halted with him being stuck behind Carter Kundinger. Doesn't have the speed through the corners that these prototypes do. Almost squeezes Scott. And amazingly, in all of this, Kundinger is still our top of the GT1s.
Yeah. Boy, I'll tell you what. Kundinger just really showed up at the wrong place at the wrong time when he got around or past pit lane across the start-finish line and into turn one, and everybody's coming out in these last couple laps. That's all he's dealt with.
Kundinger shows up at the party without an invitation and no beer, so a few drivers having to awkwardly work their way around, but they do manage it. Up at the top, just an update, King is still leading, but he has not dropped Sheldon Rosenbaum, who has been holding within a second this entire race so far. There you can see Rosenbaum in the bright blue Mercedes AMG. Too bad Bill's not with us. He certainly loved that scheme.
Bill likes colors he can identify.
I was about to say Henderson had closed up on McClendon, but he dipped two wheels off through Clayton. Somehow manages to keep the car together, though. Could have been disastrous. Let's look at the replay on this, Sean. Not often you can do this.
No, and there's Henderson there in the purple car, and he slides off. Man, he's able to keep that. See, that's what generally happens is you slide off and you'll keep going.
Now, I'm seeing Scott Kukas in the pit lane. I'm not sure if maybe he had an incident there. I'm going back to check to see if something happened to him. He's already 4 laps down. Yes, he did. It was on his lap 3, it looks like. Kukas just went wide at Clayton and speared himself into the tires.
Yeah, and it was just talking about that, again, gets a little, got off to the right, and it sucks you in, Joe. It's like a vortex. You go down that hill, there's nothing you could do.
Yeah, we're going to see the replay. I think maybe he just didn't quite understand where the edges of the car were, because you'll see, yeah, as soon as it was off, boom, into the concrete barrier and then off to the tires as well. That carbon fiber not in the best of shape anymore. However, he's our only driver who seems to have retired, and as I say that, we've had a problem with Raymond Dormer as well in the prototypes.
Yeah, and you know what? That's a shame, because Dormer had already had a little bit of trouble, Joe. Car was a little beat up to begin with, and you know what? He just doesn't do a good job of getting through turn one. He comes over the curbs. Here's the replay, but on his entry there, he was straddling the curbs off to the right, and it really upset the car. He comes across and hits that outside barrier. Ouch, he's still trying to struggle his way around.
Yeah, that Florida driver is having a hell of a time trying to keep the car straight. He's 20th in the last car, still running out on track at the moment. Only 1/7 through this race as it stands. And you can see Sheldon Rosenbaum second overall, dealing with some of the traffic of the faster cars. Josh Gardner coming through, splits up himself and our leader, John King, just momentarily. Jimbo is actually starting to catch. He's 2 laps down currently. This will put him 1 lap down once he gets up to Rosenbaum and King. I believe Josh Gardner is actually in the GTEs as well, so he's going to actually go down a lap from Jimbo Pfeiffer, it looks like. Not a good start for Josh. He was one of the ones that needed to take extra fuel at the start, I believe. Is that correct?
Right. Yes.
Yes.
Indeed. He had to go in and took a stop already. And I'll tell you what, though, he's really, oh, boy, he's going to make it close here. Looks to the inside to get around.
It's going to hold up King just momentarily, but I don't think he's going to set him too far back. Definitely not going to put him within the clutches of Rosenbaum. Do have a bit of a battle for 12th overall as Lionel Kalisto closing onto the back of Trevor Vavroski. Lionel Little Train, as he's known here on GSRC. I did find out something interesting, Sean, as, that looks like Vavroski getting held up by Wayne Hutchison momentarily through Moss. Now they're able to fly by on the Mario Andretti straight, but Kalisto, apparently his nickname in high school was actually Night Train. So we were close.
Gotta let Soup know that.
Yeah.
Hey, Dan Garber in his Daytona prototype just had trouble going through Clayton. He slid off, able to get back on clean, no damage to the car. Garber riding back at 19th right now. Oh, Brennan Limecooler off too. He just had trouble, Joe. Oh, down in Moss.
Didn't hit anything, thankfully for him. This is a common mistake to see in just about every car I've driven on this track, Sean.
It's so unbalanced there. You know, the first part of Moss, not so bad, but when you start to make that right-hander and crank it to get around the final part of it there, the car just gets so unbalanced. It's so hard to control.
Well, he actually made, you might want to go back to replay, he made contact with Dormer trying to get back onto the track.
Yep. He sure did, and now the right front of his car is in bad shape.
He's getting on the radio, apologizing to Dormer, taking responsibility for that poor rejoin. Dormer doesn't seem too upset. There you can see, he pulls in and boom.
Boy. It doesn't look like it hurt Dormer that bad. Brandon, though, again, got some pretty serious damage on that car. Look at this battle on screen here. Kundinger, Fleischle.
This is for position. And Jason really threatening now as he is in the tow up the Mario Andretti straight. This is for 6th overall. as he swings to the outside. This is also for second within the GT1s. Excuse me, for first in the GT1s, I should say, actually. Not able to do anything through the S's. So he stays behind for one more lap. Certainly making Carter have to something to think about. And just an update on our gap for the overall lead, still staying at roughly half a second. Rosenbaum keeping John King in check.
Yeah, they're just digging up there right now. Rosenbaum and King, really just trying to be as consistent as they can every lap around. Stay out of trouble.
A quick note, you can see the Ferrari, the Gulf liveried Ferrari just up ahead. That's Jimbo Pfeiffer. He's gotten his lap back. He's now one lap down from our leader, so he has to go by one more time before he is on the same lap as them. Now, Sean, I know you've got your JRT open. Ooh.
Boy, Vorosky with big trouble. Yeah, it was Trevor. Was that Trevor? Yeah, it was. Trevor Vorosky having trouble.
Trying to go the long way around of Rosenbaum and having it backfire, but didn't hit anything. Managed to gather it. And as he has a second go on screen through Quebec, he's going to get through, but he's got to worry because Callisto is still very close behind him.
Callisto in the Martini Daytona prototype.
Oh
boy.
Opportunistic move as traffic held him up. And he thought about going around the outside, but apparently he picked the wrong side as Callisto took the chance to sneak through. Going to be a battle once again as Vorosky ducks right into that slipstream, pulls out to the outside. Sometimes you can power through turn 8 if you can keep the grip. Can he do it? They almost come together, banging doors, but he manages to get it ahead. Coming through 9. It's going to switch back one more time through whites. This is for position, and Vorosky finally reclaims it.
Vorosky says, I'm on a night train. Yeah, that was a good move by Trevor there. Really, really was. This is going to be fun. I got a feeling these two are going to be hooked up for a while.
Very brave. That puts him into third within the prototypes. Speaking of which, let's check in with George Sandman, who's still the leader of our DPs. He's got about 3 seconds over Josh Wolf. It's a bit of a rematch, Sean. Whoa, was that an off by Wolf that we just caught? Yes, it was, as he loses more time through Moss.
Oh, no. Again, somebody trying to manage the trouble that is Moss. Joe, I'm sorry, least favorite corner in all of racing for me. I don't have any fun down there ever.
Wow, he took some big really bounces.
He beat it. That's exactly what I was going to. He beat it up pretty good down there. You got to be careful with that prototype there on the front end.
Could damage the under tray, could damage the nose, but the Californian, George Sandman, now went from a 3-second lead to an 8-second lead over Josh Wolf. And I was about to say this is a bit of a rematch between Sandman and Wolf from what they had at Le Mans for the 4 hours of Le Mans in the Pacific Majors. Wolf was in the hunt for the overall win on that one, down close to the dying stages, but a lot of mistakes cost him an opportunity. That was also a Predator race. How about we jump up to the lead of the GT1s because they've got traffic, and Fleischle was close right before we jumped over to this. They just worked past Wayne Hutchison. That allows Kundinger to get a little bit of breathing room. So, let's see if he can do anything with the next bit of traffic coming up, and that's going to be, well, I was going to say Brandon Limecooler, but he's actually going to stretch away. He is in a prototype. Oh, they have no traffic for a while up ahead of them. Let's see what's behind. Mark Herzog is also in that class, so they are actually clear. This is going to be just these two racing for a while. No traffic. Oh, and as I say that, that's a car off ahead of him. Brandon Limecooler goes wide once more at Moss and Sean's hated corner.
Yeah.
Up the straight, Jason has the run once again into the slipstream. Are we going to see a repeat of what we saw with Vavrovsky? Doesn't look like it. Jason not as gutsy to try and stick it around the outside of 8. Now through 9. Hold station behind. Can he get maybe a mistake out of Kundinger? Can he pressure something out of him?
Boy, Travis Henderson really struggling around this track. I know we're on par with Fleischle right now, but Henderson really having trouble with his Corvette right now, Joe. I wonder if he's long for this race. I don't know. Maybe he picked up some wheel or suspension damage at some point. But again, the car seems to be a real struggle for him right now. He had a really, really hard time getting around Brian Bennett.
I'm looking at our projected gaps here on at least the first 7 laps. We've since passed that, gone into 15. Now, of the 3 classes that are chasing the GT3s, the only one I'm seeing here, Sean, actually, no, I take that back. 2 of them are on schedule. The GT1s are pretty close and the GTEs are close, but boy, these DPs are not looking good, as we've got a potential pass here for the lead in the GT1s. Kundinger under attack from Fleischle down into turn 8. Once again, cannot hold it around the outside. I know Jason's not on the same team as Vavrovsky, but I think maybe after the race he's going to maybe have to pull him aside and ask, how'd you do that?
Maybe share a little information there, huh, Joe?
If Vavrovsky's willing. He comes from the oval side, you said, so maybe he might not want to share anything.
Thanks.
I mean,
trouble for Bennett. Yeah, he just swings it out. Yeah, I don't even know that he really got off to the grass. I think the car just started to break around on him there. Maybe a little bit too speed through the center of the turn.
On the replay there, I saw a little bit of touch on the grass to the outside of that 71. He didn't hit that tire barrier too hard when he backed it in, so hopefully he doesn't have damage.
Got wing damage, Joe. That might be enough.
Disappointing to see.
Definitely wrinkled up the wing on that. As you know, it doesn't take much to slow down the Ford GT, unfortunately.
Much to your ire, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, Bennett was trying to chase down Jimbo Pfeiffer, who's still our top GTE driver. In fact, he's the only one ahead of our GT1 cars at the moment. Carter Kundinger has about 23 seconds on Jimbo. You can see that battle on screen between Kundinger and Fleischle is not abated whatsoever. If you're just joining us, this is the Predator Challenge, round 2 of this series. If you're wondering about why things are as they are and why the faster classes are laps down, well, the Predator Challenge works on handicaps for faster classes, and they are all racing together for the overall win. These 2 are starting to catch up to Gardner now.
So, Joe, a moment ago you had a point, you said something about JRT. You knew I had it up and you were going to ask me something.
Well, I was going to ask about the gaps that we have in the, our tracker, because JRT feeds you some information that it doesn't quite feed me. But it looks like our director has been dutifully doing double duty and filling things in for us, so I went over, and that's what I was checking in on. Oh, side-by-side still for that GT1 lead. That's Fleischle. Has he finally got it? Working around the outside of White's corner. He has the momentum, but it's going to be the outside once again once they get to turn 1. Can he maybe pull an over-under in time for Clayton? He gets the momentum off. Is he going to stick his nose in? How brave is Jason going to be? The Club West driver tries to get it side-by-side. He's been given room by Kundinger. And now they're coming up on traffic. That's going to throw a huge wrench in this. Sheldon Rosenbaum up ahead of them. Josh Gardner up ahead of them. Which side can they pick? Kundinger manages to get back ahead once again, but he's got to try and squeeze through. Picks to the left side, but that's going to give him the outside up in a Moss corner. Is that going to give the opportunity? You can see Jason Fleischle gets his nose into the inside of Moss. Can he get the run off of this tight right-hander, though? Finally gets ahead of him, but now they got a slow prototype throwing in.
Henderson.
Oh, look at this. Are they going to split him? Oh, last second, Kundinger chooses to follow his competitor through.
Wow.
What about the Ferrari of Gardner? How is this going to play out? Fleischle manages to stay ahead into turn 8, now into 9.
Did anybody tell these guys we still have 50 laps to go?
Oh, you got to fight tooth and nail in the Predator Series, Sean. John King is up ahead of them as well as Fleischle is able to overtake Gardner.
Henderson does have to bring his car in.
Sad to see for Travis. We'll go back to that a little bit later. Next up is John King. What's he going to do to this battle for the top of the GT1s, the Aston Martins? Holding up Jason Fleischle just slightly. He has to get out of it as John isn't sure which side to hold on to. And he holds up both of them. Wow! As Kundinger nearly gets into the gearbox of Fleischle. Going around the outside of Moss, powers his way through. And now, finally, Kundinger is able to get past that GT3. That was our overall leader that they were trying to get past.
Yeah, and you know what? To John's credit, man, he just drove his line. He was focused on what was going on in front of him, and he let them work through it. It was well done.
Having to go once again, trying to do what Jason tried to do for a number of laps. And now Kundinger is finding the difficulty of working around the outside of 8.
Yeah, it looks like Travis Henderson's chiming in to let us know he went all wrong for him in Quebec, Joe. He says he missed his braking point there by about 6 inches, and it was 6 inches too much.
A little bit of an update on our times here for the Predator Tracker.
Gardner off course. I'm sorry, Joe. Gardner off course right behind John King.
Looks like it was a slight off. He's able to continue on. Oh, and we got a replay. Who are we going to go to?
Yeah, we're going to go to Gardner here. Coming up to Clayton here. He's going to make that famous mistake, Joe, that everybody else does. You get in too hot, get on the brakes a little bit too much, and what happens? You begin to slide down the hill and off the track. Good job of recovering.
Yeah, that looked like trying to go around the outside of that GT3 just was not going to work. Did he have another incident? Yes, he did, actually.
He did, yep.
As we were on replay into Moss.
Yeah, and he's coming down the hill in the Moss. Joe, we're going to catch this on the replay. You see him there in the middle, that Ferrari.
Rainier Racing Machine is going to just spear off. There you see it, off to the left and into the tires. And behind him in sympathy, Dan Garber. There he flashed by. Didn't hit anything, but he had an off track in Moss as well. Now, the good thing for these guys, Sean, is there's no incident limit, so
yeah,
they're not going to be DQ'd.
You talked about Dan Garber. Well, you know who's right behind him? That's George Sandman. Sandman actually getting ready to put Garber down a lap in their own class there. Lots of traffic up in front of him, though, here, Joe.
Unfortunately, Sandman's pace making Garber feel like a bit of a baby out there as he comes out of Moss, and he's going to let him through due to the blue flags. Oh, and Gardner's in the pits. What happened to Josh? Gardner is, let's see. Oh, I think, you know what? It looks like he had to tiptoe his way back, and that damage...
Yeah, that front end...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say the front... You were all over it. The front end damage was too much of it. He had to limp his way back to the pit.
Let's take a little bit of a time to give you an update on the gaps projected on what these different classes need to do. GT1's looking a little bit good. And actually, GTE, this might be incorrect. We're unsure about this calculation. But they might be well ahead. GTE looking very good. Meanwhile, the DPs continue to be a little bit behind.
Yep. Okay, Joe. Now, here's something JRT does. Joel Real Time, for those of you who don't know. That I didn't know until just recently. Do you know what predicts a winner?
Really?
Yes, it predicts a winner. Now it's a prediction. It's not an assumption. It's just a prediction. It's not anything sure. Obviously.
Ooh, sorry, on screen, William Fletcher. Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you there. This was in the prototypes coming out of the final corner. Does he take maybe just a little bit too much curb? Or is it too much gas on the exit? Oh, it looks like maybe he got a little greedy with the right pedal.
Okay, so where I was going with that, real quick. Okay, I'll wrap it up real quick. I have a prediction.
Okay.
And it is a prototype.
Really?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I'm gonna guess his name starts with a G and his second name starts with an S.
Not really. No.
Oh, really?
How about the Howlin' Wolf right now predicted to win this race? Now again, racer's got to race. You still got to get around this track, but that's what JRT's telling me right now.
Okay, well, interesting one. I'm not sure why it's predicting.
Oh, Fleischle with trouble. Was that Fleischle just off track?
I'm checking to see. No, I'm not seeing him with an off.
It looked like it was an Aston, and now I can't pick it up either. Darn it.
What part of the track did you see it in there, Sean? I'm seeing if I could track it down.
Too late.
Herzog.
I got
it was Herzog.
all jumping up. Was it Herzog?
It was indeed Herzog who had an off in Moss Corner. George Sandman actually followed him off, interestingly. But in the meantime, we do have a battle on screen. We're looking at Lionel Kalisto at it again. We ride with Trevor Vovrosky threatening as they come up to 8. Trevor's managed to get by once around the outside here, but not this time as he wasn't close enough. Coming up to White's, looking a little bit more tidy through these S's. And you can see the ground that it gains, the Northwest driver. Well, Scott Kukas is not happy about something. And he's actually put it into the wall, unfortunately.
Oh, well, no, he put it in the wall by himself. He didn't have any help. He was coming around turn 1.
Yeah, I'm not...
Kukas loses it.
Not sure why he was talking to Sandman. But we're still watching this battle on screen between Vovrosky and Kalisto now side by side. Whoa, almost gets into him as Kalisto has to collect the car downhill into Moss Corner. Ooh, and a lot of curb on the inside. That hurt. Coming off of there. The momentum interrupted for Little Train. It's a climb back up Mario Andretti straight. And we're hearing that an incident has happened with Kundinger. He's off course.
Going into Clayton. He didn't even get down the hill. He started to lose it at the top of the hill there and slides off. He's getting going and back underway. Traffic coming around. Watch out. Dan Garber.
This is all by himself that we're seeing on replay. It almost kind of looked like maybe he touched the grass a little bit. I'm going to watch it on mine real quick to see if that's the case. You know what? I think that's what it was. He just put a wheel into the grass ever so slightly. Did not cost him a position, but he's now 17.5 seconds behind Fleischle.
Yeah, and Fleischle is closing in on Jimbo Pfeiffer.
Lap 27 of 70 out here at Mosport. Interesting update for you on our overall leader, John King. Was hounded by Rosenbaum for the majority of the start of this race, but traffic has separated them, and Sheldon seems to be losing time. He's 4.5 seconds back from King. Unfortunate news, Josh Gardner has decided to retire. Not entirely sure if it was the damage making him decide to do that. His words in the chat were, shutting her down, can't fix what's broke.
Well, commiserations to him. That's a shame. Gardner Had a cool looking car, actually. I like the way that Ferrari looked.
Yeah.
Just not seeing it on the track.
Now that Rainier paint scheme was pretty slick. That leaves us with, it looks like, 18 cars still out on track from our 22 that started.
Not bad, not bad.
Not too high of an attrition rate, especially compared to what we were potentially predicting. There you can see our top DP, George Sandman. Our top GTE is still Jimbo Pfeiffer. Your top GT1, Jason Fleischle. And then, of course, the overall leader, John King. Those are the 4 cars leading each of their classes. They are, of course, racing against each other for the overall win, however. And that's the only one that matters in points.
Joe, that last lap, Fleischle was 3 seconds faster than Jimbo Pfeiffer. He's clipping right now, man.
Then you see the West driver, 5th overall. Still 2 laps down to our leaders. So still a long way to go here in this 70-lap race.
Fleischle just looks comfortable on that Aston.
I think he's always looked comfortable. And running in his familiar number 77 with his Alliance paint scheme emblazoned upon it.
And just behind him now, George Sandman coming through. So Fleischle going to start seeing him in the mirror.
Change for position in the prototypes. Lionel Kalisto sneaks through the inside of Vovrosky down into turn 8. That looked a little easy compared to what we were watching before. Wonder if they're trying to play a little leapfrog here, Sean, to make up time.
Could be, because I honestly, looking at Kalisto's car, he's got to have some help. I just don't know. Well, the right front is bent up pretty well on that Corvette. Help could be what he needs, but boy, he's starting to kind of leave Vovrosky behind him.
And Travis Henderson is actually catching him as well.
Yeah, maybe those two actually play leapfrog, the teammates, Henderson and Vovrosky. Maybe it's time for them to play a little bit of leapfrog of their own. Maybe they can work together and get up the field a little quicker here.
Bit of an update on your tracker. Again, these are not entirely estimated. Our prototypes currently on lap 28 as George Sandman just starts that one for him. 3 laps down from our leaders. So prototypes actually looking a lot better now. We may have made a little bit of a calculation error. So DPs do seem to be on course.
Oh, no! Vovrosky goes off with, makes big contact with John King. Oh,
and that's our overall leader. Well, this changes everything.
Oh,
huge hit. You're going to see on the replay here, just it looks like maybe he sticks his nose in when John was not expecting it.
Yeah, and he sticks it in too far, Joe. Watch what happens. He gets off to the left here and hits the grass.
Oh, yeah, you're right. The car is upset already.
Poor John.
Goodness.
John, nowhere to go.
It really is the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah. Wow. He comes on and apologizes. I didn't hear any response from John. I can't imagine John's too happy about that, to be honest with you.
I was going to say, I know my theory is just to not press the button when I'm angry, so I have a feeling that maybe that is what John is doing right now. Both of them, you can see, trying to get as quick repairs as they can. This promotes Sheldon Rosenbaum up into first, Wayne Hutchison in his second. King is still third, but he's in the pits now, and he's going to be demoted by Pfeiffer eventually. I don't expect King to be out very quickly.
Wow.
That means only 2 GT3s are still out on track. Unfortunately, that kind of throws our calculations a little bit out the window.
Yeah.
Rosenbaum was only about 5 seconds, 6 seconds behind, though. We'll try and recalculate it as best we can, and get back to you a little bit later. In the meantime, we will continue to watch the battles out on track. Well, Pavrovsky was in a close fight with Callisto, but that breaks them up. That puts Callisto solidly into third of the prototypes. He's a whole 23 seconds behind Wolf. And Kundinger maybe thought that his battles were over, but he's dropped back into the clutches of Mark Herzog now in the GT1 class. This is for 5th overall right now. All these drivers have now demoted Sean King, who continues to tumble down the order.
Well, and I don't know exactly how much damage that Mercedes had on it, but it was pretty significant, Joe. He went hard into that barrier. He could be in for quite a while.
I think at this point, he almost needs to call the race over for himself, because once the faster classes have gotten by, there's not much he can do. Oh, we had a car off there.
I think that was Dormer.
Yep.
Dormer's been trying to limp that Daytona prototype around with no front end on it. Honestly, boy, it might be time for him to call it. He's got traffic coming right behind him here as he gets restarted. Brian Bennett coming through, so it's Travis Henderson and Lionel Callisto.
None of these are for position. As we switch back up to the battle here between Herzog and Kundinger, still applying the pressure. The Midwest driver tried to do what he can to hold back Jason Fleischle. Unfortunately, a mistake lost him a lot of time. Right now, 22 seconds between Fleischle and Kundinger. And you can see a bit of a go from Herzog down into Quebec, but doesn't seem to totally work as Kundinger tries to come back with an over-under down into 4. Up into Moss, isn't able to get his nose in, and I think you can give this second GT1 spot to Mark Herzog.
Joe, let's hear it for the man from Texas, Sheldon Rosenbaum, currently your leader. In that GT3, that beautiful blue Mercedes, he just got passed by that Pepsi Daytona prototype you were enjoying earlier. This is by Scott McClendon.
The only Texas driver out here in today's race, Sheldon Rosenbaum. One thing I wanted to touch on as we watch our overall leader work his way around is Jason Fleischle, keep in mind, and Herzog unhappy with Kundinger as they've swapped positions once again. In fact, they made contact door to door, it looks like. Yes, they did. Through turn 9. So maybe about 30 seconds ago or so, these two trading paint. And that even started before that. Yeah, look at that squeeze.
It did.
Down.
Boy, and then they fight all the way through there, don't they? Right up to the start-finish line.
Herzog with a big slide coming out of 9. In the end, Kundinger is able to reclaim that position. Maybe I should continue trying to talk about Jason Fleischle every time I try to bring him up. This battle keeps erupting. But what I was going to say about Jason is keep in mind he's won multiple of these Predator races. And right now he's the fastest of the GT1s. I would not put it past the West Club driver to be able to be in the thick of it come the checkered flag.
Well, he gets around Scott Kukas, who gets out of the way, lets him go. It's a Daytona prototype that Kukas is in, and currently he's 19th here in the race.
Kukas multiple laps down, even within his class. We covered some of his early problems coming out of turn 1, and he's going to allow the car of Wolf through. Wolf still running second in the Daytona prototypes. Closest battle on track is still that one between Herzog and Kundinger, but they are about a second apart right now. How about our GTE leader having jumped in to third place overall in quite some time? That's Jimbo Pfeiffer.
Yeah, and Joe, I'm telling you, that's going to be a battle for position quickly, okay? Fleischle is closing in at a rapid rate right now.
Oh,
Pfeiffer
you're right.
better get ready. Pfeiffer better get ready for the assault because Fleischle is probably within about 2 to 3 laps of coming here for a podium position.
Yeah, 7 seconds between them, and we've only just hit halfway. I think it's a safe bet that Pfeiffer, unless many drivers in front of him have problems, is not looking at the overall win here.
Joe, we have just passed the halfway point of this race.
Indeed.
You talked about this pace that Fleischle's had. Oh, Kundinger coming down the pit lane. He's actually in the stall now.
And this might be a scheduled stop. As we said, these drivers are expected to make at least one scheduled stop, and he's taking tires. Interesting.
Oh, Jimbo Pfeiffer coming in also. Pfeiffer coming down the pit lane.
Does Pfeiffer take tires as well? I would expect not. These GTEs seem to make them last pretty long. So he hits his stall nicely, watching to see if that car goes up on the jacks. And no, he's going to go without tires. So Jimbo Pfeiffer. Meanwhile, the car behind him, GT1, Kundinger, did take tires. How is that going to play into later in the race? So with Pfeiffer having pitted, that does mean that Fleischle is able to jump him, but he might be handing that back once Jason comes in for his scheduled stop.
Okay, I'll give you an update on Jason Fleischle again real quick, all right? Now, the GT1 is currently only 44.5 seconds behind Wayne Hutchison in his GT3. They're now on the same lap. Now, neither have pitted yet. They still got that coming out. That will change the outlook of that a little bit, Joe, but Fleischle reeling them in. Fleischle 5 seconds faster last time around than Wayne Hutchison.
Well, the easy way to calculate it, I would think, would be cut the gap in half. GT1s were 3:30. That would mean a minute 15, correct? Which he is way under, if that's what you're saying, if he's only 41 seconds behind our leader. But you said he's behind Wayne Hutchison, right?
Right, Hutchison second place overall right now in his GT3.
All right, so where is he compared to Rosenbaum? He's right behind him. Actually, this is right close on the cusp, because he's running about
he's getting his lap.
laps.
He's getting his lap right here. So now he's on the tail end of the lead lap.
Exactly. If he's running at 1:15 laps, that makes it easy on us at 38 laps, just past halfway. He's got to hustle a little bit. He's a little behind schedule. Ooh, gonna be interesting with Fleischle and Rosenbaum.
But not predicted to win this race.
Is it still saying Wolf? Does that ever change?
It is. It is still saying Joshua. We're going to get to experiment with Joel's little toy today. We're going to see how on he is. Now, actually, he explains, Joel Guez explains on his website the calculation, how it's done. It's and don't get me to quote it or try and remember it right now, but it involves a lot of data from iRacing. So.
I was going to say, expecting us to explain science and math on air.
We're not allowed to do that.
No,
the fact
not
that
anymore.
the fact that we've even got a tracker up kind of goes against everything that we're about. So
we got
going
to
to be
spin
very
ahead
unhappy.
of Fleischle. That
Right
was
in
Dan
front
Garber.
of Dan Garber. Yep. Wow.
Did a good job pulling that back off the track. He saw the cars coming and just steered it backwards out of the way. You're going to see on the replay, just loses the rear end through Moss.
Yep. Yeah, just a little bit of dirt there.
And as that is happening, Mark Herzog in the GT1s comes in for his stop. How is he going to come out in relation to Kundinger? Remember, these two have been fighting pretty closely. Herzog's already out. I think Herzog did not take tires. I wonder if maybe Kundinger is the only GT1 that's going to take tires. Big question mark is Jason Fleischle.
Joe, by the way, I think Trevor Vorosky and John King are all good. Apology went out. John thanked Trevor, reminded him it's 5 a.m. where he's at. He's going back to bed.
That's right. King is over the UK, is he not?
He's actually drives under the Asia banner.
Oh, what in the world? Where is he running from then?
He's somewhere in the Far East. I'm not exactly sure where.
Huh. Okay. Well, John, if you come and watch the broadcast, talk to us after the next race and let us know where you're based. We'll have to get more specific than Asia. That's a bit of a wide swath.
He's there in the chat. I'm sure he'll mention it here if he wants to.
All right, there we go. Well, I thought he was going to bed.
He did.
That was a pass
so.
for position we saw on screen. Or that we're about to see on screen. This is Wolf overtaking Herzog. Two different classes, but this is for the overall, which these cars are racing for. And you can see that Herzog doesn't want to give it up readily. I don't think he's done anything untoward so far, though, Sean.
No. And there we go. Wolf finally gets it and gets around.
That moves
right.
Wolf in a 7th overall. Oh, and another car
At
off.
6th.
Was that for position?
Yeah, yeah, no, that was. He moved up to 6th.
Oh, yeah, that was Brian Bennett in the lone 4GT, swinging it wide on the outside of Moss, discovering that that gravel really doesn't grip like the asphalt does.
By the way, John King from, I don't know if he's from Malaysia, but he's in Malaysia.
Aha. How did you discover that?
He chimed in on the chat. He's not in bed yet. Stay up and watch the rest of the race, John. Come on.
You might as well at this point at 5 a.m.
We'll be done in 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Get your sleep schedule back in line. Just stay up the rest of the day. So we watch Fleischle 3rd overall. Again, he is on the lead lap now. 41 of 70 in this lap limited race. If you're just joining us, this is the Predator Challenge, round 2 here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, better known as Mosport to most of us race fans. And if you're not sure what the Predator Challenge is, all these drivers, despite being different classes, are racing for the overall win. The fastest classes have been given a handicap from the green to try to overcome.
And for those of you that were confused, it has nothing to do with the alien that Arnold Schwarzenegger battled.
I have made references to that in previous Predator races. I can't do it too many times. Meanwhile, George Sandman is coming in for his scheduled stop. So we watch him, just an update. Your overall leader, for those just tuning in, is Sheldon Rosenbaum. Has 43 seconds over second place Wayne Hutchison, who is also in a GT3.
Oh, Kalisto off! Kalisto! Oh no, in White's corner, Kalisto was side by side with Carter Kundinger. Wasn't a battle for position, but he loses it bad tank slepper for Kalisto.
You can see on the replay here as they go side by side through 8 and 9. He did get the car going once again, but it looks like, I don't think that was Marbles, because he was sliding before even he turned in.
Yeah, I think he was maybe trying to turn the car a little bit too much. Maybe just a little bit too much input to the wheel might have got that around Joe.
Certainly felt like the car was unsteady by the time he hit the corner. Despite the damage, still out there on track, still in 12th position. As we come back live. So the drivers still out there. We have 17, 18, it looks like, if I'm counting correctly. Still out on track. Was that Kalisto going off again?
It sure was. Yeah, Lionel continuing to struggle, Joe, down in Moss. He didn't hit anything, but he got all the way off the track. Took him forever to get back up on the track.
An update, George Sandman did finish his stop. He was able to come back out. He is 9th overall, 2nd in the prototypes, but that's because he's waiting on Josh Wolf to take his scheduled pit stop.
Josh Wolf, who is up into 5th overall now. Still a lap down from, well, the next car in front from Jimbo Pfeiffer. He's still a full lap down from Pfeiffer.
No, we haven't gone back to the spreadsheet in a while. We'll get back to it soon here. Trying to give you an update now that we believe we've got things figured out with our new overall leader, Sheldon Rosenbaum, having been up at the front for a number of laps. If you missed it, John King has been leading since the green, or was leading since the green, until an incident with Trevor Vavroski took both cars out. On the GT1 end, well underneath what they need to get up to the GT3s, it appears, by nearly 30 seconds. The DPs also very far under what's been projected. In fact, it looks like almost by a whole minute, I'm seeing, if I'm looking at this correctly.
All right,
it's over the GT3 only, though.
I'm gonna make my plea to help Mike Willett out here, okay? Anybody watching, listen, if you think you're interested in this format, contact him on Facebook. You can find the Predator Challenge on Facebook, or even go to the Pack Majors website, one or the other. But get in touch with Mike Willett. They are looking for people to join this series and help with gathering that data to set these handicaps. The practice sessions are free to join, and any of the data they can get, as many cars on track, is a huge help setting up these races.
And indeed, if you're looking at this and think it looks like fun, come out and take part in this series. They are still accepting newcomers, I believe, and you can see it is a unique experience compared to multi-class racing elsewhere on the iRacing service. Josh Wolf comes in for his stop. He was leading the prototypes, but George Sandman now, just as I say that, comes back by.
All right, and Josh Wolf is in the pit. Josh Wolf is in. Also, and listen, I'm sorry, just going back to what we were talking about a moment ago. You know, if you're an iRacer, imagine what this would be like with a full field with 50 to 60 cars on track, Joe.
All the more chaotic and interesting. Yeah. That's for sure. There you see Sandman now in 7th as he regains the position from Wolf in those pit stops to finish what I was talking about on our Predator tracker. The farthest back of our catching classes is the GTEs, and yet they are still, well, I was going to say they were still ahead of our prototype leaders, but I'm looking at that wrong there. So the only one behind, actually, I'm seeing, just by a hair. Oh, and Fleischle, 2nd overall, as he is just overtaken Wayne Hutchison. There is now a clear indicator of where he sits, as our timing and scoring tells us 44 seconds behind Rosenbaum.
And he's about to put a lap on his teammate or work with him. Now, his teammate, Wayne Hutchison there, Mark Herzog. His teammate right in front of him, Mark Herzog, has already taken his pit stop, Joe, about 7 laps ago. So knowing that a pit stop still needed here for Fleischle, I wonder if he just rides behind him, maybe tries to conserve a little bit of fuel here, maybe take this run as deep as he can.
Well, it seems like that's what Rosenbaum is doing as well. 23 laps left to go. And there you can see that was Jason Fleischle screaming by to put a lap on Herzog.
Yeah, no, he's not going to wait.
Here he comes.
I love you. You're my teammate, but don't hold me up. I got to go.
Fleischle in for his one scheduled pit stop. Comes cleanly into his box. Now, we saw Kundinger take tires. Is Fleischle going to take tires? Because remember, Herzog, we believe, did not. And Herzog is his teammate, so maybe Herzog and Fleischle potentially on the same strategy. Did not take tires.
No tires for you.
Didn't go up on the jacks. Wonder if Kundinger missed a trick here. He's actually, I'm looking at Kundinger, about 10 seconds behind Mark Herzog. So I wonder if he's catching him. I haven't been paying attention to that gap. Let me look at their lap times.
Joe, Fleischle comes out right next to Rosenbaum, the leader of this race, who has not taken his pit stop yet. So Fleischle, right in position here to get on the end of the lead lap to the outside of Rosenbaum, and then you got the GTE coming through there. Who is that? That's the Golf. Oh, that's Jimbo. Hey, Jimbo, welcome to the party.
Certainly it made it difficult on him. But as they went through Moss, it was a done deal, so Fleischle back on the lead lap one more time. Now, when is Rosenbaum going to come in? That's another question that we need answered. That's going to swing it back in favor of Fleischle once more. As Pfeiffer gets himself onto the lead lap, I believe. Your initial prediction without JRT, George Sandman is currently in 5th, having recently overtaken Mark Herzog for on-track position.
Oh, and those predictions do change. In fact, they have.
Now, I'm going to go look at the lap times for Kundinger. 1:14.9, 14.4, 14.5 versus Herzog. Much slower. Oh, wow, yeah. This may have been a good call by Kundinger in the end, as he's running down Herzog pretty quickly. And Jimbo Pfeiffer shouting some encouragement to Jason Fleischle, who is certainly hustling the car. Didn't have too bad of a drama, just locked his tires up heading into Moss. Didn't even go off track. Got some more figures here on our tracker now. And if I'm looking at this right, the DPs are just about on schedule to catch our GT3 leader. However, unfortunately for them... Actually, no, are they the farthest up? Am I seeing correctly? Yes, they are. So they are the closest potentially able to overtake, as GT1 and GTE are about 10 seconds behind, a little bit more for the GTEs.
Okay, Kundinger, Wolf, that's for position. Wolf getting by Kundinger up the Mario Andretti straight.
And again, 2 different class cars, so that was an easy job for Josh Wolf getting past Kundinger.
That moves Wolf up to 7th overall, Joe.
Same thing with Sandman, who has now overtaken Mark Herzog. So Sandman into the top 5.
Dun, 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 dun.
And I'm checking to see when Sandman will get on the lead lap, as he is still a lap down. Rosenbaum almost half a track ahead of him, so he's got some ground to go still.
The big thing for Rosenbaum and Hutchinson right now, obviously they've got to get that pit stop. Hutchinson a full 50 seconds behind Rosenbaum, though, and with them so spread out, obviously Hutchinson looks to lose the most when he comes in for his pit stop with all these other cars chasing right now.
We have 20 laps to go here in round 2 of the Predator Challenge. We'll be back after a short break. We'll take you to the checkered flag here at Mosport. Don't go away. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. Your overall leader is still Sheldon Rosenbaum, but he has yet to make his pit stop. Same thing with Wayne Hutchison, as Jason Fleischle is our GT1 leader.
There's Sheldon.
And, well, Sheldon's in now.
Man, that blue Merc is on pit lane, just like we planned it.
Exactly. So, where is this going to put Jason Fleischle when he comes back out? Brandon Limecooler has a bit of an off just ahead of him, but comes back on without incident.
Fleischle just got out of Moss, and Rosenbaum is rolling.
And Jimbo Pfeiffer, during the break, got on the radio, realizing what his situation is he noticed George Sandman's only 15 seconds back of him, so I think maybe Jimbo feeling a little bit nervous. Rosenbaum returns in the midst of traffic and manages to hold out. As Wayne Hutchison comes into pit, that bumps Jason Fleischle, now up into second place. With 17 laps to go, it's 21 seconds, a gap between Fleischle and Rosenbaum, and quickly dropping.
Jimbo Pfeiffer sitting there in third, Joe. That GTE he's had his pit stop. He's good to the end. This is really all going to be up to Sandman at this point.
I believe the only driver who has yet to pit is Brian Bennett, I'm seeing on my timing and scoring. Not sure if that's accurate. Everyone else has at least come in, and actually, as I say that, Bennett now completes it. There we go.
Ah, boy, really gives me today.
The Cosmos are listening to us.
Yes, they are.
So here's the thing for you, Sean. 18 seconds back and rapidly closing for Jason Fleischle on Sheldon Rosenbaum. But then you look down the order, and it's only, I believe, 13 seconds or so, actually less than that, between Sandman and Fleischle.
Mm-hmm.
It's about to get spicy out here.
It really, really is. And boy, you know, Sheldon Rosenbaum has got to be the driver that really hopes it does get spicy behind him, because he's, yeah, it's 28 seconds, but listen, if Sandman has trouble getting through these three, Sheldon can just worry about continuing to do what he's doing, and that is lead this race.
Don't want to put the commentator's curse on him, but Sheldon really has been driving phenomenally well most of this race. I don't know that we've really seen much drama out of him.
Oh boy, and who was that sliding there? It was Dan Garber and Bennett, both sliding right in front of George Sandman. Oh man.
We're going to look at the replay, both simultaneously escaping the bounds of the track, eventually working their way back on.
It's almost like a ballet there.
A ballet of errors?
Yes.
A comedy of errors?
Love it, love it.
Remember, we talked a little bit earlier how Carter Kundinger took tires and Mark Herzog did not. Herzog just overtook Wayne Hutchison for position on track. That's going to put him in 6th. However, only about 5 seconds back from him is Carter Kundinger. He is still closing. "15 laps to go now as we watch the 8th overall of Carter Kundinger."
Yeah, and Carter's got no traffic in front of him here to worry about. This is just full on, let's go as fast as we can for 15 more laps here and see how we fall. Hutchinson got to be worried here at this point, though. Carter was about 4 seconds faster than him that last lap. Wait, we got
Jimbo.
a DP. It was lime cooler off from just in front of them.
I was going to say Jimbo Pfeiffer is in 3rd. He's been holding on very closely to Jason Fleischle. Those two very well matched. He's only 3 seconds back after Fleischle passed him a number of laps ago. So we watched that replay that you mentioned. Sandman is definitely going to be overtaking Jimbo and very likely going to be overtaking Jason Fleischle. Even still, I have to give credit to Jimbo, who probably is going to be overtaken by Josh Wolf, we should see. Not sure if Mark Herzog is going to get him, so we could be seeing 5th place for the Northwest driver.
Right now, your top 4 is representative of all 4 of these classes, Joe.
And on screen, just in the background, there you can see, is George Sandman. Cut it down to 2 seconds, creeping up on Jimbo Pfeiffer. The Ferrari will have no answer as this DP uses its superior horsepower up the Mario Andretti straight. Now closing it in to within roughly a second.
Listen, if I'm Jimbo Pfeiffer, I say when he gets up next to you, put a stick in his side. Let him know you're there. That's just me. But anyway.
Well, he was getting on the radio, I think, trying to clear that, he didn't want to hold him up at all. I think because he knows that he's got to try and go as fast as he can. Yeah, in fact, he's just getting on the radio, letting him know which way he's going. Didn't want to try and impede Mr. Sandman, who's now onto the podium.
Mm-hmm. Fleischle 4 seconds ahead of him. And hey, listen, if you're running on iRacing with me, I really won't put a stick in your side. I promise. I'm a pretty nice guy to race with, just not any good.
I'm not going to say anything about that. I don't want to stick myself in it. So, Fleischle, 5.5 seconds back from Rosenbaum. We've still got 13 laps to go. I don't think it looks good for the Texas driver.
Yeah, and I was hoping maybe some of that traffic that Sandman had to get through would maybe slow him down a little bit. But right now, all Sheldon can do is just keep driving. Just keep driving, buddy. Try and hang on to this podium spot. Even that's going to be really tough at this point.
Yeah, Pfeiffer will be closing in on this Mercedes. So maybe Pfeiffer can get himself back onto the podium. He's got 12 seconds back to Wolf, although I say that now, and as I do the math in my head, Wolf, as I said before, is probably going to demote the Northwest driver. Sandman now catches up to Fleischle. So it might not be Fleischle who first gets to our overall leader. It could be the Sandman. As they come down the hill through turn 4 up into Moss. This is looking to me like it's going to be a done deal coming out of the right-hander. As they both get to the power, the GT1s are known for having quite a bit of top-end speed, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough to hold back George. And you can see as we ride on board, he closes in. Wow, and he isn't able to catch him by the end of it. But now they're coming up to Rosenbaum. You can see that blue speck up ahead. That is our overall leader. First change for the lead that we could be seeing since partway through the race when King got taken out by Vrosky. As Fleischle gives way to George Sandman, who sneaks into second place. And in quick succession, as he comes up to Clayton. Is he going to do it here? Is he going to wait patiently? He knows he's got lots of time left. 11 laps to go. He is indeed waiting patiently. Jason Fleischle closes up on the back of him. Both of these cars being held up just a little bit by that bright blue Mercedes. And now, George Sandman is your new overall leader.
Okay, well, there you go.
Fleischle waits behind. Now he sticks his nose in with the second part of Moss. Now he's got the job done.
Yeah, and got to watch out for Pfeiffer. He's sneaking up behind here. I say sneaking because William Fletcher in between. Fletcher in the Daytona prototype Corvette. All the way back in 12th.
There's Jimbo in his Gulf liveried Ferrari. About 3.5 seconds back from Rosenbaum. I think he can get him before this is done.
Hey, Joe. We talked John King into it. He's still awake. He's still watching.
John, thanks for sticking with us. Actually, if you want, John, you are most welcome to hop into our Ready for Interview room and chat with us if you want. Tell us a little bit about yourself. We've got the laps winding down. We've got a pretty good idea of the leader. We are on TeamSpeak, and I believe if you need, Mike Willett can get you that information. Jimbo Pfeiffer now closes on Sheldon Rosenbaum. That was quick.
Yep,
Reeled
it
him
sure
in.
was. And Jimbo seems to be fastest when he needs to be, and that's right now here in the closing laps of this race. Jimbo's really picked it up now.
Coming down the backstretch, not quite like these GT1s in terms of power. Tend to make their speed through the corners with the downforce in these GTE machines. And you can see right there demonstrated, closing in 8, but can't do anything with it. Tries to sneak around the outside, which is going to turn the inside of white, but no, can't get his nose in. Coming off of that final corner, has the momentum, sticks it into the inside, takes the apex away from Sheldon Rosenbaum. Jimbo Pfeiffer gets himself onto the podium, but can he stay there?
Work well done there by Jimbo Pfeiffer, but he does have to stay there. He's got to keep it in the gray here for the last 9 laps.
And he's got Josh Wolf running both him and Sheldon Rosenbaum down. I believe it's going to be the last car that will be able to overtake Pfeiffer unless Jimbo makes a mistake. Carter Kundinger, a good 30 seconds or so behind Jimbo. And with only 9 laps, I don't think he's close enough to be able to make that up.
Joe, this is up to Josh Wolf. He can get this if he wants it. We're running out of time, but listen, Rosenbaum only 5 seconds ahead of him. Pfeiffer about just now tipped under 7 seconds.
Your overall leader is George Sandman. He's extended that gap over 10 seconds past Jason Fleischle. Josh Wolf now coming through turn 1, down to 2 seconds between himself and the highest GT3 car of Sheldon Rosenbaum. It's going to be blue versus blue. There we see the GT3, the Mercedes AMG of Rosenbaum, has led many of these laps. 30 to be precise, just shy of half of this race. Has to wonder what could have been as he's caught by Josh Wolf down in a Moss corner.
I think Sheldon did the best he could with what he had to deal with, man. I love this format. He fought so hard. It's a shame the podium might escape him. The result certainly doesn't equal, or it's not indicative of the type of race that Sheldon's had today.
He's certainly been smooth as silk from what we've seen when he's been on camera. He should be proud of this race, if you ask me. Meanwhile, Josh Wolf has turned his attention up to the top GTE, and that is Jimbo Pfeiffer, only 2.5 seconds up the road. And we missed it. Apologies to fans of Carter Kundinger. He did chase down Mark Herzog. He did pass him. Kundinger's tires allows him back into 6th. That was a good strategy call by him. Now down to 7 laps to go in this 70-lap race.
Yeah, Carter got him coming out of the final turn there in White's corner. Just a really nice exit. He was able to get that spot away.
There we see the cluster of cars around Jimbo Pfeiffer as he's overtaken by one of the prototypes, William Fletcher, who's not battling for position. Kind of compromises his entry though, and that allows Josh Wolf to rock up behind Jimbo's Ferrari. This is for the podium. Down the main straight, Josh Wolf gets himself into the top 3.
Okay. Jason Fleischle is the meat.
He's got 5 seconds right now between himself and Wolf. I don't think that's going to be far enough. I think Wolf is going to get himself into 2nd place from here.
Well, is Fletcher just going to get out of the way for Wolf? Remains to be seen. We'll see.
Meanwhile, where is George Sandman? Have I seen correctly? 20 seconds, the gap between himself and Fleischle. Mentioned Jimbo Pfeiffer might not have to worry about, and Sheldon Rosenbaum might not have to worry about losing outside of the top 5, and that seems to still be the case as Kundinger has 23 seconds to try to run down the next car, which is Rosenbaum.
Now, Wolf did just clear Fletcher. He's across the start-finish line, Joe. Now the work begins. Jason Fleischle, 2 seconds ahead of him.
I'm sure Jason's pushing hard from here. It's coming down fast, though. Since you've said it, it's now down to 1.2.
But he just clears Wayne Hutchison. That could be a bit of a pick there. Maybe slow him down a little bit. Nah, Hutchison's going to get out of the way. He didn't want any part of that. Wolf going to roll on through and now come down the hill. Not close enough to get it done in Moss, I don't think. He's going to probably wait till the straightaway. Maybe not. Oh, Wolf gets in there really, really hot.
Right up on him. And as we saw before, these GT1s and prototypes can be a little bit close sometimes on speed when it comes to top end. Unfortunately, he is no match for Josh Wolf. Trying to power around the outside. Doesn't defend down into 8.
Joe, did you think there for a second 8 had a name? Because I always think it does, and it doesn't.
I'm surprised that they didn't, but they are the S's. I mean, they have that. Down to 4 laps to go. That should solidify our top 5, unless I'm mistaken.
A revelation by Sheldon Rosenbaum. That might have made him a bit faster, actually, Joe. Says he took on way too much fuel at the pit stop.
So can he actually be caught by Kundinger? It's down to 16 seconds. I think... How close is he? Did he say? I didn't quite catch it. I heard him mention fuel over the radio, but...
Yeah, I think he's now looking what's left and looking down at his tank and says, I took too much fuel. That could have been a... I don't know. I mean, that could have been a really costly mistake. Let's see, how far away is he now from Pfeiffer and Fleischle?
Wow. After that pass, did Herzog have a problem after Kundinger got by? Because it's 12 seconds between them. I'm going to go back and check to see if maybe Mark had an issue somewhere along the line. Got a little bit of an off coming. Oh, he did. Mark Herzog on his lap 66, unfortunately, slid his way off of Clayton into the tires, and that's what cost him.
He sure did, Joe. I just caught that myself. He certainly gets the right front into the barrier hard. Now, we do have a replay of it here. Here he is going to the top of the hill, heading down into Clayton. Oh, that's not it.
That's the Moss corner. Didn't quite find it, unfortunately, so the 57 will not get embarrassed with us showing his off at the very end of the race. He didn't lose a position, though. He's not under threat. 2 laps to go now, as we are in the dying stages without a serious error. George Sandman with a 24-second lead, 25-second lead over Josh Wolf. How's that prediction looking on JRT?
It's with the Sandman now.
I was going to say. Well, at least it's smart enough to figure that out.
Well, it had actually, honestly, it had switched over to George. I think right after the pit stop, actually, it had switched over to George. So
interesting.
Yeah, it won't stay. It won't stay with its initial prediction. It keeps changing throughout the race.
Wonder what it was about the pit stop that made the application decide that George seemed more likely.
Maybe just the simple fact that George was 2 seconds quicker on that pit stop. I mean, honestly, it made it come down to a calculation as simple as that.
Well, calculations are easy for everybody now as George Sandman gets the white flag. He is well clear, could just about cruise home. Wolf is in second place. Looking solid for that position. Jason Fleischle, despite having won multiple Predator races in the Pacific Majors where this format was born, is going to come home third, most likely. How about a run for Jimbo Pfeiffer, though? Highest of the GTEs into that 4th position.
Yeah, I'm just going to say it as we get ready to end this race. I mean, this handicapping, it works. It's maybe a little off today, but still, you've got all 4 of these classes represented here at the top of the field, and I really, isn't that the goal? When you start this thing, is to have all racing.
You've got 6 cars on the lead lap. That's pretty good, I'd say, with, as you said, all 4 of the top people represented. But through White's corner, George Sandman puts them all to sleep and takes the win at round 2 in Mosport.
Yeah, and
still coming down that backstretch, such is the gap.
Fleischle on the Andretti straight now. Wolf poised to take that second spot here.
Wolf is going to take it, but we might want to go to 5th because Sheldon Rosenbaum, he's being run down by Kundiger. Rosenbaum might finish outside of the top 5 here.
Wow, they're just in moss. There's a lot of track left here and a whole straightaway to get down.
And unfortunately for Rosenbaum, the straight is where that Aston Martin is going to shine. He has nothing for him. That has got to be gutting on the final lap as Kundiger overtakes him.
Wow, wow, wow.
Fleischle did take the final podium spot. Pfeiffer did come home in 4th, and Kundiger rounds out the top 5 with a last lap gasp here in the O2. So with that, we're going to go to break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We're going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. And on screen, you're going to see all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Don't go away. Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. We just watched round 2 of the Predator Challenge. And in the end, George Sandman comes in and blows everybody away with the win over 25 seconds over Joshua Wolf. You can't say that it was weighted too much in favor of the DPs, though, because after that, you don't see another one of them until 10th place. Jason Fleischle, the highest of the GT1s in the Aston Martin, comes home rounding out the podium. Jimbo Pfeiffer in the GTEs, making sure The top 4 get 3 different cars representing. Jimbo finishing 4th. Carter Kundinger behind, just managing to sneak by into 5th, also in an Aston Martin. And Sheldon Rosenbaum, the highest of the GT3s. That was a little bit different than probably what could have been, since we saw the car of John King unfortunately have problems, and he was our leader for much of the start of the race in the GT3s. Mark Herzog is going to finish in 7th, the first car a lap down, unfortunately. Wayne Hutchison finishes in 8th, also in the GT3s, and Brian Bennett, the next of our GTEs in the 4 GT, coming home 9th. Finally, you get to the next of the DPs, Scott McClendon, 2 laps down from George Sandman, rounding out the top 10, Sean.
Okay, let's go to 11th, and William Fletcher finishes there on the lead lap. Very last car on it. Dan Garber going to finish 12th in his Daytona prototype. 13th going to go to Travis Henderson. 9 laps down. Rough day for him. 14th going to go to Michael Foley. Brandon Limecooler, 15th. Lionel Callisto, 16th today, Joe. Scott Kukas, 17th. John King, we saw the trouble he got into early, unfortunately. Leading his class, he could have been one of the podium contenders there at the end. 18th for him. Raymond Dormer limped the car around for a while and manages to get that 19th spot right in front of Trevor Varosky. Not very Vroom today. 20th.
Yeah, unfortunately was taken out in that incident with King. Angelo Ciatola retired very early. Patrick Hingston was a DNS today, did not take the grid. With that, let's take our winner into the booth, George Sandman. I always like to ask one question of our Predator winners right off the bat. At what point did you feel like the win was within your grasp? George, do you got a copy of us? Sounds like we're having some mic problems with George. You're coming through with a lot of static here, George. Sorry. Unfortunately,
All right.
I'm really sorry, George. It sounds like we're not getting any sound except static coming through for you. So unfortunately, we're going to have to move on from George, see if maybe he can put a different mic on and get that working. In the meantime, Sean has caught up with second place, Josh Wolf.
The Howlin' Wolf, Josh. You had to get by Jason Flashley there in the end to move up one more spot on the podium. The Corvettes, a little bit faster, obviously. You guys pull it out there with about 10 laps to go and take over this race. Did you have a little bit of fun out there today?
Oh, yeah. It was a blast. Just a little bit off of George the entire race and wasn't able to keep up, plus a few incidents. So, but, yeah, it was a lot of fun. Definitely enjoyed the race out there today.
Now, a couple of your teammates had a little bit of trouble today. You seem to have the luck with you. Were you guys talking much on your team channel about that?
Not really. It was just I've been working a lot on this setup, and it wasn't suiting them as much. They were kind of on some other setups, and just kind of struggled. Kind of some of them late practice, so definitely a challenging track, but I think it just came down to a lot of practice for me.
Yeah, and I know you like to put the practice in and be prepared. Man, I know you guys came off of ovals and then started road racing here probably, I guess, about a year ago? Am I right, about a year ago?
Started really doing well about a year ago. We've been doing it for a while. I've done it my whole life since I've been racing. I grew up 15 minutes from Watkins Glen, so whenever a car comes out, that's the first place it gets tested at is Watkins Glen. So
Nice.
I definitely know how to get around here. It's just been now trying to figure out how to build the setups, and I'm definitely getting a lot better. Still some more to learn, but it's been great.
Well, Josh, I've said many times during the broadcast, I am a fan of this Predator format. Even made a shout out to the race fans watching. Get in touch with Mike and this series. It'd be great to have some more cars out here.
Oh yeah, I definitely would love to see more cars. I think the times would have been definitely a lot closer with more cars out there. It was pretty easy for us to kind of get around if we had to wait maybe at one more corner or something, but it wasn't really too difficult, and I think that's why you saw such a big lead for the DPs, because there were so many of us and not really having to deal with the traffic as much.
Yeah, you guys really had the numbers today. Well, hey, we'll get back at it next time. Thank you so much, Josh. Always great to talk to you, buddy.
Yeah.
All the way back to our WSU days, man. So it seems like that was 100 years ago now. Now you're driving sports cars and kicking tail, man.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely loving it.
All right. Congratulations to Josh Wolf today. He does finish second place in his Daytona prototype. Joe has caught up with the great Jason Fleischle.
Indeed, the West Club driver has put it into third place. So, Jason, despite having multiple Predator wins on your belt, you weren't able to take it home today. How did you feel about the traffic out there? Because this is a race that the Predator Races has not been to yet.
Yeah, that's true, but it's funny you bring that up. I wanted to talk about that in terms of not being able to win today. Which one of you yahoos picked me to win?
Well, you'll be glad to know that neither of us did. It was actually Sean picked George, and he got it right for once. So.
Oh wow, Comteer's curse is broken. Okay.
Yeah, I know. We'll have to pester him about that. He stepped out of the booth for just a second. We'll annoy him when he comes back. But still, it seemed like you and George were starting to catch Sheldon at just about the right time. Did you start to get an inkling that George had this one in the bag, or did you feel pretty confident that maybe you could get the win today?
I felt pretty even with George up until my pit stop, and then after the pit stop, about 2 laps after that, the tires just fell off, and I couldn't maintain the same pace. So I knew it was George's, and then I should have held on the second too, but made a couple of mistakes past at that point, which cost me second place. But yeah, I was pretty sure that as long as George kept it on the black stuff and stayed out of trouble with traffic, he was going to get it. And to answer your first question, I'll tell you, I was really apprehensive about racing Predator here, but that was probably one of the most fun Predator races I've ever ran. I mean, the first half of that thing was really, really hairy, especially duking it out with Carter. And Carter drove an outstanding run up till he had some problems after I got by him. But boy, he really impressed me with how long he held me off. That was a lot of fun.
Certainly was a great fight. And speaking of Carter, he was the only of the GT1s we noticed take tires. Both you and Mark, which, if I understand correctly, are teammates. Did you coordinate on that strategy to take no tires?
Yeah, ahead of time in email, it's pretty much the whole Alliance team is not taking tires in this series because it's just not worth it for the extra time in the pits and what you lose on track. If I had taken tires, I would have lost 30 additional seconds. I lost a second per lap in pace over that. 20 laps to go, 10 seconds advantage, pretty easy.
Well, it worked out for Carter because he actually ran down Mark and did pass him on those fresh tires. So seemed to work for you, but not so much for your teammate. Congratulations on the podium, and hope to see you back next round.
Yeah, thank you. I hope the attendance keeps growing. Well, we got one more than Daytona, but hopefully we'll keep growing this thing.
We're trying to boost it on the broadcast. We've been inviting viewers to come check it out. We love calling these races, Jason.
Oh, thanks for the help, guys. Take care.
That was Jason Fleischle, third place finisher. And up next, we do have George Sandman coming back. He's going to talk to Sean with one more try with a new mic.
Yes, Joe. Enter Sandman. He is here. George, congratulations. Another Predator Challenge in the books, this time with you at the top of it. I know that mic worked, Joe. We were talking. George, you there?
I believe you.
Aw,
can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear. There's George.
Yeah, to answer your first question, the first time around, I thought I could win it from the start. Of course, you guys should know that. We're going to go out here and race and chase everybody down. Race ain't over until that checkered flag goes, and this thing doesn't get exciting until the last part of the race. So you never give up. But that was a great race. Everybody, traffic was great. I think I got through laps a lot faster than what we thought we were going to. I think turnout was a little lower. So hopefully we can increase that.
Yeah, and Joe was just saying to Jason Flashy, we were kind of plugging away on the broadcast at trying to get some people into this. I'm a huge fan of the Predator format. I know you are. It was quite a trip around the track for you today. But yeah, with about 10 laps to go is when you took over, and more participation means more data and a better handle on figuring out these handicaps. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, no, I agree. With more traffic, it probably would have been more appropriate at that time. I think we just didn't have the traffic on the track, and most of the traffic that was there, I just happened to hit it good. I thought I'd have at least half my laps being 113s or slower. That's kind of what I figured, and it seemed like there was only a few of them that were really affected.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's a big win today. You had Josh Wolf manages also to bring his Daytona prototype across, and Jason Fleischle rounding out the top three. This track has its challenges. Talk about the transition from Daytona here to Mosport. Obviously, we know it's a much different deal. How does that affect your strategy, though, going into it?
I actually like it better. I like more of the tight tracks. My favorite tracks are like Lime Rock, Laguna Seca, anything that's really tight and fast. So this is one of my favorite tracks. It always has been. So I always look forward to racing here.
Well, and we look forward to having you back in the booth with us soon. Again, congratulations on the big win today. I know it takes a lot of effort getting prepped up for these things, and hopefully we'll see you at the next one, maybe? Yes?
I'm not sure. I don't think I even have the ring. I haven't purchased it because I don't want to be not seen for like 3 months because I won't give up running it.
Oh.
So we'll see about that one. But what I will try to do is that people, if they're interested, I usually run full stints. There's usually no hiding my capability of any lap timings or anything. So if anybody wants to see, I'll even share information, try to get some people up to speed if we want to try to get the numbers a little better in this.
Hey, listen, folks, there is a top-notch driver offering information. The line should form to the left. Take a number and wait in line for that. George, thank you for offering that up. We would love to see a full field out here because and I know with a full field on track, this gets 10 times more exciting than we had today. Again, congratulations. Thanks a lot, man. We'll catch you next time. And yes, George, go buy some new content, okay?
Will do. Talk to you later. Thanks, guys. Right. I want to say thanks to my Team Orion race team and to my sponsor, HPP Simulations.
George Sandman with the HPP Simulation sponsor there, Joe. You know what that means?
That's why he's so fast?
Boy, I'll tell you what. It might be the pedals. It might be the pedals.
Well, I don't know if you heard any while you were away stepping out of the booth for a moment, but did you realize that you correctly predicted the winner today? Is the curse broken?
It might. I'm not. No, I really don't want to be in the I don't want to be in the prediction business. I really don't.
Okay. All right. Leave it to JRT then. So we're going to close up today. First of all, thanks to Mike Willett for all the work he does behind the scenes, and thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. Thanks to the team today, Amjad, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /GlobalSimRacingChannel. The next race, as was alluded to by the Sandman, the Nürburgring, but the GP course. So don't get too excited that they're going to try and calculate who is going to be fast around the Nordschleife. That's going to be the more modern track, the GP one. So that'll be Saturday, August 12th at 3:45 p.m. Eastern. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.